Hey everybody, I'm Steph.
I'm Michael
Today we're checking out Monumental.
from FunForge.
Yes.
So, thanks to FunForge for providing us this copy of the game and the Lost Kingdoms expansion and the African Empires expansion. So, thanks to them for providing all three of these to us, but they didn't give it to us in exchange for this video. They gave it to us because they know we like to play all the games. So, Monumental plays 1 to 4 players, and the box playtime says 90 to 120 minutes.
Okay.
With one of the expansions, I'm
Yeah.
not sure which,
I think it was the Lost Kingdom.
it allows up to 5 players to play the game.
It gives you enough content. But the expansions mostly give you new nations to play with, but new tiles, maybe new tokens and stuff like that. So that's cool. If you like the game and you want to keep playing it, getting new nations is a lot of fun to get a diverse play feel.
Yes.
So expansions, good job.
Absolutely. So this is just going to be the teach of the game. Steph and I had played this the other day, and I got to say, I think it might have a couple of quirks with 2 players. We will show you all of the setup for a 2-player game, and then we'll explain the differences in a 3 and 4-player game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the game board while I teach you all the rules. Let me take these boxes off of the table. So, Monumental is a bit of a deck building slash, I guess, territory area control type of game.
Yeah.
With different units. Now, it is not as brutal as somebody comes and takes over all of your stuff and destroys all your units, and then you can't come back because you can't produce units. The units are always going to be available to you. You will always have all of your units available. Whenever they're defeated, all they're going to do is go back to your capital area. So,
say before we get into it that you'll probably see somewhere online, if you're looking at it, that it's like a Civ kind of game, but it's not really.
It is, yeah, and that is another thing. It is often touted as a Civ game. I don't see it as a Civ game at all.
Neither do I.
Yes, you do have a civilization.
Yes.
For example, I believe I am Denmark. Yeah. And you are Japan over here.
Sure.
And
it has a Civ theme.
Yes, and there are wonders that you build and upgrades that you do, but I don't ever get the impression that I am building the Danish civilization.
Agreed.
So, another one of the big flaws, and this is this game did get redone on Kickstarter, and there were initial complaints that they left out the component listing in the rulebook. The Kickstarter and reprint does not have any component identifiers. It goes straight from the title page into setup, and that we literally took maybe an hour just to look online for all of the components. But that's why you're watching this video, because I can show you exactly what all of these components are.
Yeah, they have a weak list on the back of the box saying 226 tokens or something. Like, yeah, that doesn't help.
What are the tokens?
That doesn't help at all.
But we can help you with that. Yeah. So, there is an additional map guide that is created that is separate from the rules. You can choose one of these maps, or you can make up your own map. I highly recommend starting off with one of the balanced pre-generated maps, especially for your first time playing. This is the 2-player map that Steph and I played, where we have resources all around our capitals right here. And the capitals are these looks like brick courtyard tiles. Yes, cobblestones, yes. We have set up for you this two-player scenario that looks like this with the two different capitals here and here. But there are certain ways that you will set all of these things out. Each of the tiles has to have these barbarian tokens placed on them. If you're using one of the map guides, if it shows a 1 on the spot, just shuffle up all of the 1 tokens together and put a 1 where you see a 1 in the maps guide. If you see a 2, place it a 2, a 3, place a 3. There are some different tokens that look sort of blue like this. This is called, I believe it's called a free city token. And they will either require gold or production markers in order to claim these tokens. The other ones are just barbarian tokens. It is also important to note at the start of the game, there is a monsters expansion where the monsters look identical to the barbarian tokens, as you can see here. But you'll notice on the back side, one of them has rewards you can get, one of them has a monster. In this case, it is a Mogwai, which corresponds to one of these monster cards, and that is what a Mogwai looks like. If you are playing for the first time, you do not need to play with the Monsters expansion. It is optional, so pull out all of the tokens that look like this before you do your initial shuffle and setup. You won't find those on the Lost City tokens, but you will find them on the Barbarian tokens. Water spaces will never get one of these Barbarians. So if you want to do your own map, just go ahead and create any map using the available terrain tiles. Take one free city token for each player. Those are these bluish looking ones. It doesn't matter what the number is, but place one free city token randomly on individual provinces. Not obviously not counting your capital space, not counting the water space. Place one random barbarian or monster token on all of the other spaces. Again, not capital, not water. The values of the barbarian and monster tokens surrounding capitals have to be the same for each player. Notice I've got a 1 here and a 1 here. Oh, I should have a 2 here. Let's just pretend like this is a monster token. Actually, I can probably grab one fairly easily. Boom. There's a barbarian for me. A 1, and a 2 around this capital. A 1, and a 2 around this capital. Hey, we're good to go. We've got matching numbers around the capitals. That way, if somebody were really hemmed in with really strong barbarians and the other side had really weak barbarians, you don't have an imbalance that's going to cause problems later on. Assemble one random market per player. The markets look like this. Notice I've got 2 Kathmandu tokens. On the maps guide, you'll see the tokens that look like this. We have got those placed here, and I've got Samarkand right here. Now, since we're playing a 2-player game, we need 2 tokens, and we need 2 of these cities. If we were playing a 3-player game, we would have 3 markets and 3 tokens on each market. 4-player game, 4 markets, 4 tokens on each market. Now you'll see in the box that there's Samarkand and Kathmandu and Rome and another one. I cannot remember what the name is. But those are what the markets look like. So barbarians and monsters, markets. You've got production tokens. You're going to put production tokens all over the map, except where the markets are, and waters and capitals, of course. Dan says you should have your barbarians balanced every 6,000 miles or 6 conquests. Yes, exactly. So, Any of the unused barbarian monsters or free cities or markets or production tokens are just going to be placed back in the box. What you have here is what you'll need for the entire game. And then you're going to set gold and culture tokens off to the side. Gold tokens look like this, and the culture tokens. Steph, where did those culture tokens go?
Oh,
Ah, here they are. Sorry, I did not even pull those out. The culture tokens are the ones that look like the little quill pens. Culture tokens look just like that. You won't need to set those up anywhere on the map. Just make sure to have them out and available. And you're going to place all of the resource counters and wonder construction tokens just next to, beside the play area in the general stock. You've got the blue for science, black for production, and red for military. These yellow tokens are going to be used for wonder construction, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So, whenever looking at that map guide, if you're wondering, hey, do I need to have a specific tile for these? Notice how some of the, like these two zero tiles, they look a little bit different, but they're essentially, both of them are essentially grassland. It does not matter which of these goes in which position. And the rulebook didn't say, so we spent some time scouring the BGG forums and found out it does not really matter where these twos are, where these zeros are, as long as you have them, as long as you have a zero in each position, it doesn't matter which zero gets placed there. So you are going to sort the development cards by era and shuffle each pile separately. The development cards all have this world symbol on them, like so. The number one cards, they might look a little bit different depending on the card type. So all of them, however, will have a little one up here on the top or in the very corner. They'll have a little number one. That shows that it is an era one card. Your wonders are in white. Your knowledge cards are going to be in blue, and I guess the normal cards. What are those cards?
Buildings.
The building cards are going to be with the reddish orange.
Yeah.
So you're going to shuffle up all of the cards with a one on them. And those are all going to go on top. All the ones with a two go in the middle. All the ones with a three go on the bottom. So, as you do in most other Civ games, shuffle up all the threes first, then place. Where is that number three card?
It's in there.
There it is. So, shuffle up all your number threes, put the number three card on top of it. Shuffle up all your number twos, and place wherever it ended up. The number two on it, shuffle up all the number ones, put that on top, and the number one card directly on top. Whoever is going to be the first player in the game will get the number one card, and they'll keep it in front of them. And that shows who was first in the game, because there's going to be equal turns taken in the game. So I would be the last player in this game. So if you are playing with 3 or 4 players, you're going to have one line of 6 cards going from left to right, just like this. They would be placed just like that. Old cards will be taken off of this end. New cards will be added to this end. With a 2-player game, you're going to have 2 separate rows that are going to be handled independently, but they're both going to draw from this main stack. Cards are going to enter this side. Cards are going to leave off both rows off of this side. Each player is going to get a starting set of cards. The civilization symbol is up in the very top corner, in the same place as you'll see the 1, the 2, and the 3s on the normal cards. Um, and you'll notice that it matches my cultural development cards. The symbols match exactly. So each civilization will have 5 of these culture cards, and you will have how many of these cards? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 starter cards. All of the ones with that icon on them are called starter cards. Now, notice they also have that world symbol on the back side, just like these cards do. The culture cards clearly look different on the back. Now, you can look at these at any time. You will just keep these face down until you are ready to use them. Finally, each culture will have one leader that has a power that can be activated. Now, unless otherwise specified, any card that you use can be used only once per turn. So always keep that in mind. Now, for those of you who it matters to, the civilizations that are in play in the base game are China, Denmark, Egypt, Greece, and Japan. So, as I mentioned before, I have Denmark, and Steph does not have her cards up, but she's got the Japan cards over here. She's got her starter cards and her 5 culture cards. Each
policy.
culture policy cards. Thank you. So each player has 9 soldier tokens. They are the smaller circular tokens. You've got the super large circular token, which is your leader, and it should match the picture on your leader card. The medium-sized ones, you only have 2 of them, and they are outposts. And finally, you have 2 explorers that are the square tokens. You're going to place all of these tokens except the outposts on your capital. You can just place your outposts off beside your capital. They are not in play until you build your first outpost. You also have a scoring token, and there is a scoreboard, but you're not going to need this until the end of the game, where you're going to count up all of your victory points on this this 50-point board. Actually, it's a 49-point board, 7x7 grid. Put that off to the side, Steph, if you would. So, that is the basic setup. This is the market here is called the development display, where you've got the 6 cards in a row or 2 rows of 3 cards each. The starting player will go first, and then play will proceed clockwise. On your turn, you're going to activate your city. You're going to take actions. You will replenish your city, and then you will replenish the display. The display never does get replenished until the end of your turn. So this is your city right here, this 3x3 grid of cards. So at the start, before your turn starts, you're going to deal cards off the top of your deck into your city from left to right, top to bottom, as you are reading a book. So, and that's also true whenever you're filling in empty spaces in your city. You're going to fill them in left to right, top to bottom. If you deal out one of your knowledge cards, for example, this scouting card, these knowledge cards never go by themselves. So whenever you deal a knowledge card out, you're going to deal a normal card, a normal building card, on top of the knowledge card. If you were to draw a second knowledge card, you're going to have to choose one of these to keep and put the other one in your discard before putting your building card on top. So it would just be bad luck if you were to get a blue card on top of another blue card with another blue card on top of that.
I think it happened about 4 or 5 times in
Oh,
my game.
did it? Wow. It did not happen to me even once. So, and maybe that was one of the reasons why I did win against you, but I think that's not the only reason, but we'll get to that.
I mean, Japan's a knowledge nation, so they want to get the blue
They
cards.
want to get all as many blue cards as possible,
Yeah.
for sure. So, how do you activate your city? Well, I think that this is um, my favorite mechanism out of any of them. You are going to take one row and one column, and you're going to turn each of those cards 45 degrees. Um, so let's say I want to take these three cards because I want the production on them. And then let's say that I also want to do these two cards as well. Or I could do these two cards or these two cards, as long as I'm taking one row and one column. So, um, as I mentioned before, there are three basic resources: production, military, and science. So, when I have turned all of these cards 45 degrees, these are the ones that I'm going to activate. You are immediately going to get all of the resources that are shown. So, I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 production. That's awesome. I am going to hold on to these 4 production tokens. Now, here's the catch. Whatever of these plastic tokens that I do not spend by the end of my turn, I'm going to lose. So I need to make sure to spend all 4 of these actions. Then I am going to activate all of the other effects on my card or purchase cards from the development display pretty much in any order I wish when I'm taking actions. Um, let's go through all the different actions that you can do. Um, one of the things you can do is to acquire a card. Whenever you're acquiring a building card, it's going to cost you some amount of production. For example, to build this temple, I'm going to need, hey, I've got 4 production. I can afford to build this. And then the next time that I draw this and activate it, I'm going to get a culture. Culture is going to be used to enact those culture policies. So if I were to purchase this card for these 4 tokens, I'll just put those tokens back into the supply, and I'm going to put this not in my discard pile, but on top of my deck. Therefore, I'm guaranteed to draw this card on my turn. So, whenever you acquire a knowledge card from the display, you're going to have to pay some kind of cost in science. Well, I don't have any science, unfortunately, but if I had 3 science, I could purchase this knowledge card, which will give me a production. This knowledge card, this mathematics card, will give me science whenever I activate it. This one will give me any one basic resource. The basic resources are production, military, and science. Oh, I forgot to mention, at the start of the game, each player has 2 gold. What are gold used for? Gold is a substitute for any basic resource. So I could turn this into a science and a military, or 2 production, or whatever I want to turn these into. But I don't lose gold from turn to turn. It's just going to sit here uh, in my uh, in my supply area until I need to use it. And the same thing for culture, because culture is not one of those plastic tokens. I will just put it here until I am ready to use it. Culture is only good for enacting the culture policies. So, whenever building a wonder, you can have one wonder going at a time. So, let's say I spend 3 production. That's the first little mark down here. I'm going to place this Great Wall next to my city and place one of those yellow cubes on that first production. At any time after this, I can spend another 3 production. It could be a later turn, it could be this same turn. I would then put this Great Wall on top of my deck because it's going to be a card that can be dealt up into my city at any time. And I'm going to get this immediate effect, which is to gain 2 military. Well, that seems pretty good. So as soon as that gets built, I'm going to take 2 military tokens and put the Great Wall on top of my deck, guaranteeing that I'm going to draw it next time. When I do draw it next time, it's going to have this ability: archive a card to gain 2 military. I'll talk a little bit about archiving in just a second.
Mm.
So, I already said that.
Okay.
So, if for some reason you don't want to complete this wonder, you've got this wonder halfway done and you don't want to complete it, and you want a really tasty wonder that's up here, you can go ahead and take it, but then you're going to just lose this card out of the game entirely. So, let's say that I did build this Great Wall. Look in your token stack here and find the Great Wall, and then place it on a territory that you control. And this is going to give you +2 defense to whatever territory you put this on. Let's say that I had, at some point earlier, I had taken over this territory. I could put the Great Wall here just to give it a little bit of an extra boost. And I'm going to leave this here for right now so y'all can see how this works. So, something else, like I say, you can purchase cards from the rows. You can start or complete a wonder. You can develop a cultural policy by spending that culture that I was talking about. The first cultural policy that you put up is going to cost you 1 culture. You can choose any of your 5 cultural policies. Steph's cultural policies are going to be different from mine. So choose one of these. Notice at the bottom it says it's going to be a cost from 1 to 5. Notice that there's an immediate effect at the bottom and a normal effect that can be used during your turn on the top. Well, it's at least in the middle of the card. So I spend 1 culture token and place in raiding parties. I will immediately get to do what it says down here at the bottom. This says reinforce 1 card. To reinforce a card, I will turn one of these cards of my choice back up straight, meaning I'm not going to get rid of it into my discard pile at the end of my turn. I can choose the knowledge card, but I can just choose either the knowledge card or the building card. The whatever card was not reinforced is going to be discarded at the end of the turn. And now, whenever I conquer a coastal province, I'm going to gain a gold. So, anytime I conquer one of these spots next to these water regions, I'm going to get a nice, awesome gold. Now, it is not clear whether this activates multiple times. The rules do say that cards activate once unless it says otherwise, though it also does say whenever, so it's a little fuzzy. Now, the second time that you create a cultural policy, it's going to cost you 2 culture. And what you're going to do, here's the cultural policy that I previously created. Let's say that I create navigation. I'm going to cover up everything except for the instant abilities. As soon as I enact this policy, I'm going to go from top to bottom, activating all of those immediate effects. So first I'm going to gain 2 military, then I'm going to reinforce a card. And then I can activate this immediately and again, activate it once per turn unless it says otherwise. This one says whenever you conquer, you may conquer 1 tile further away from provinces you control. And I will explain conquering here in a second. The third cultural policy I put in, I'm going to put over the top, activate all the immediate things, and now only the one on top is my active cultural policy. So you can only ever have 1 active cultural policy at a time. So keep in mind which ones you want to keep long term and which ones you don't. But by the time you get your 5th cultural policy, the game is probably about to be over. So, what else can you do as an action on your turn? Well, you can conquer a province. anytime that you want to conquer a province, you can bring them from anywhere as long as you can get to that area by moving through provinces that you already control. It costs you 1 military to move 1 unit into a province. So, um, it costs you 1 to take your warlord, or 1 to transport any of these soldiers. They all have an attack value of 1. So, now you might say, well, why would you want to bring your warlord? My warlord's got a pretty cool ability. The first time that Siegfried conquers a province each turn, I get 2 military, which might enable me to do 1 more conquest. So that's pretty awesome. So let's say I wanted to conquer this spot right here. I can do so because I already have this spot conquered. It's got my Great Wall on it. So let's say that I've got 5 military here. I could spend 3 of it in order to move 3 of my units. Why do I need 3 units? Well, this costs 2, and this barbarian costs 1. So I'm going to need a total of 3 units. You have to be able to match that number of units. And then there's nothing random that happens. You're just going to spend 3 to move 3 in. That's 1 and 2 and 3. Now notice I can bring these guys all the way from back here. Notice that if I did not have this territory yet, I could not move my troops through this neutral area. Even if Steph does not control it, I can't move through unless this is my own territory. Here's another catch. I cannot willingly abandon this province. I cannot take this soldier off, leaving this undefended, unless there is an outpost on it. I will talk a little bit about outposts here in a second. So, have to leave this guy here. You can leave your capital undefended. These are not units. These are just explorers. They don't fight for you. But you can take all of your soldiers out of your capital, which is not a bad deal because my opponent cannot attack my capital, but nor can I attack hers. So I'm going to spend my 3 military. I'm going to take out this barbarian, and hey, what cool thing do I get for killing this barbarian? Oh, I can take either 1 gold, or I can reinforce a card, which is turning it up straight and using it again next turn. Hey, I think I want the gold this time. I'm going to go ahead and grab 1 gold. Remember, I can use these as any resource. So I'm just going to keep this off to the side. There are cards that will reference using these again, any of your already used tokens. So just put this off to the side of your capital area. So now I might, since I have Siegfried, I'm going to get a couple more military tokens, and now maybe I can go attack another area. This is going to cost 6. Well, I don't have enough for that. So I could go here, but look, I don't need military units for this. This is one of those free cities. I could conquer this area by bringing in 0 and 2 gold. Now, you always have to move in at least 1 military unit. So I'm going to spend 1, travel this guy all the way up here, spend 2 gold, and now I have control of this region as well. What do I get for this one? Oh, look, I get a culture or 3 matching basic resources. Again, these being the basic resources. So now I have control of this one. Now, you might be wondering, Michael, why are you not taking these production tokens? Production tokens are taken only by explorers. So, I can keep doing this until I run out of military tokens. The only thing military tokens are used for is to move military tokens around the board, unless you have a card that says otherwise. So, let's say that I don't really have anything else that I want to conquer this turn. You can move your military units around, 1 military for each unit that you want to move. So let's say I want to move this token over here, and I want to take another military and move this token here. So I'm pretty good to go right there.
Explorers too.
What? I haven't done explorers.
Oh no.
That you cannot move explorers with. Well, you can move explorers with the military, but you can't conquest with those. But yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. So, let's say that you wanted to conquer a region, but you were on opposite sides of it. You can indeed move them from anywhere as long as you can draw a path to that province. So, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bringing them from both directions into this province, as long as I had the 6 military to do so. So, you can indeed do that.
Never abandoning a region.
And you can never abandon a region. So, as Steph mentioned earlier, we've got these explorer tokens. They can also be used with military in order to move those around, but they do not work like military units. Oh, hey, I've got my knowledge card that says move 1 explorer, 1 tile. Hey, let's move that explorer up here. It doesn't have to be a territory I control, but then on your explorer's turn, you can either get a production token from your tile, and you'll just keep it next to you. You do not lose these production tokens like you lose these production tokens. You'll just pay production at any time. You'll just hold on to this token till you want to spend it. So I'll hold on to this. The other thing that an explorer can do is to explore these markets. So you can either on your turn, each explorer can be activated once. So keep that in mind. I can't move here, take this production token, move here, take this production token, move here, take this production token. I can't do that. I can move that explorer multiple spaces and then do one thing. So in this case, if I wanted to visit this market, I will look at both of these market tiles and choose the one that is better for me. Oh, look, it's for science or for production. So I will choose one of those and leave the other one for my opponent to take. Since I already have a Kathmandu token, I cannot explore Kathmandu again. So keep in mind you've got 2 explorers. Each one can be doing their own thing. One of them can explore Kathmandu while the other one explores Samarkand. You do not have to defeat the barbarians before you do your exploration. Now, you can indeed conquest multiple times with your military units. That's quite all right. But let's say that Steph is in my way and Steph has tokens instead of a barbarian token. Let's say she's got a stack of tokens like this. A warlord and 3 soldiers. This is going to cost me 2 for the tile, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. She's got 4 soldier units there, or 4 military units. That's going to cost me 6 to defeat. Oh, excuse me.
+1.
Excuse me. The warlord is a value of 2. It's a value of 1 when attacking and 2 when defending. Is that correct?
Yes.
Whoa.
No, it's a value of 1 when attacking and 2 for defense.
Yes, and it says it right here on your card. 1 when attacking and 2 when defending. So it's going to cost me 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Why +1?
Because you had said 6, and it's really...
Oh, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, I'm going to need 7 total to move into this spot. Now, if there are wonders in that spot, it's going to be an additional 2, as you can see there. If there is an outpost on the site, it's going to be an additional 3. Now, hey, how do you get an outpost? On your turn, whoops, let me move that back there. On your turn, you can move 3 units back to your capital and put down one of your outposts. So Steph can take these 3 soldiers, move them back to her capital, and put down an outpost. Now, the outpost shows that she maintains control of this. She does not have to babysit that spot anymore. It's just fine. She can continue on going from there. Now, it's important to note that if she's got her tokens split up like this, if she moves this here, she's not going to be able to help bring more units in because there's no path unless she takes over this one of these 2 spots first. Then she can then get to a further out area. Put all these back. Let's see, what other things can you do? There's one other thing that you can do on your turn. If you have 2 science tokens, you can spend 2 science tokens to draw the top card and play it as if it were activated in your city. Oh, look, it's my Great Wall. I can archive a card to gain 2 military. Archiving a card basically culls it from your deck. So let's say I don't want this cost 1 card. I will put it underneath my Warlord, and that gets rid of it. So it's not consuming my space. Now, it is important to note you cannot archive a card that is tapped at a 45-degree angle. You can only archive unactivated cards. Notice that this card that I've activated also says that I can archive a fort or an archery range to gain a culture. Unfortunately, I no longer have a fort or an archery range that is untapped. I've got a library, a forum, and a mine, but I do not have a fort or an archery range. So, after you have used these cards, if you have not reinforced them, you are going to put all of these into your discard pile. As Sunfall says, unfortunately. Nice. So, then you're going to take your cards and deal them up. Now, let's say that I was out of cards at this time. You're going to take all the cards in your discard pile. You're going to shuffle them up together as you do in all of your other deck builders and finish replenishing your deck. Now, that is called replenishing the city. And then finally, you're going to replenish the display. If you had taken a card, at least 1 card from the development display during your turn, you are going to shift all the remaining cards to the right to fill the gaps, and then you are going to reveal cards, getting back up to the normal amount of 6. But if you acquired no cards from the development display, you're going to get rid of the rightmost card, move everything down, and replenish in behind. Now, in a 2-player game, remember, you've got 2 different columns. I did purchase from each of these rows, so Steph has moved that down, and we're going to fill these in. Let's say that I didn't purchase from either of these rows. We're going to get rid of the 2 rightmost cards and shift and fill in. If I had purchased from only 1 row, we shift one. We shift the one that did get purchased. We discard the rightmost card from the row that did not get purchased, and we will flip up like so. You will notice that eventually we're going to get down to the level 2 cards and then the level 3 cards. Whenever they come up, you're just going to toss these off to the side. They're just double-sided cards, and you're going to keep on going. As soon as the development display cannot be refilled from this area, then you're going to finish out the round and then take 1 more turn each. So I am going to get the last move of the game for certain. At the end, you're going to calculate up each of your controlled provinces, which is going to give you 1 point per province. Whoever has the most provinces is going to get a 3-point bonus. And this is summarized really well on this victory points reminder card. So, 1 point per province, 3 points for whoever has the most. 1 point per knowledge card that you own. You only count the ones that are in your city or in your draw or discard pile. You do not count any that you archived away. And you do not count your initial one that you got at the start of the game. So, 1 point for each of those knowledge cards, 3 points if you purchased the most. Then we're going to look at completed wonders. 2 points if you completed for each completed wonder, and 3 points if you completed the most. And finally, for each developed cultural policy, these 5 cards here, you're going to get 2 points for each cultural policy, and again, 3 points if you completed the most. If you're tied for dominance in completing the most, all tied players get the full 3 points. And the most points wins. If there's a tie, whoever has the most remaining gold wins. If there's still a tie, whoever has the most remaining culture wins. If you're still tied, you share the victory. And let's see. The only other thing that I wanted to address is this. There are some questions out there. What happens if Steph were to take over this Great Wall spot? After all, I've got the Great Wall card somewhere in my deck. Here's the catch. She does not get the Great Wall card from me. I'm still going to benefit from having built the Great Wall, and it stays in my deck. Steph only gets the 2 defense bonus that the Great Wall provides to the province, and that's all she gets for conquering a spot with Wonder in it like that. There are a few modules that, like the ones that I had mentioned earlier, where you can add in monsters like Minotaurs, Krakens, Goryos, Golems, Gorgons, Frost Giants, Djinns, some really cool things. There are also heroes that can be acquired for a little bit of a cost in gold, and these heroes can really help you out as well. Finally, there are some Renaissance cards that are just like the normal cards that have some knowledge cards, some buildings, some wonders. If you decide to use Renaissance cards, you are just going to stick this between eras 2 and 3 whenever you are setting up the game.
Yeah.
The what? Oh, there are also 3 alternative wonders for eras 1, 2, and 3. You can swap them for any other wonder of a matching era. I did forget to mention this during setup. Now you may wonder what those alternative wonders are. They're on the next column on that page. Here are the alternative wonders at the top of the next page, or at the top of the next column. These are the alternative wonders that you need to pull out at the start of the game. Alternatively, you can add them in, taking a different one out instead. So, I believe that is all the rules for Monumental. Can you think of any other ones that I've forgotten?
Seems good.
They're
They're basic buildings. I don't know if you actually said it, but
oh yes. I did forget to mention there are, if you ever want to purchase any of the basic buildings, this whole stack here is nothing but workshop cards. They are all identical, but once the stack runs out, that's all there is.
I don't think you need
So
that
yeah, I
many
did
of
forget.
them.
There's a workshop, there's an archery range, and a laboratory. Obviously, these are going to give you the 3 basic resources of production, military, and science. There's also an Atama module available that you can use, and the rules for that is after the normal rules in the rule book. Let's see, Heroes module, Monsters module, and there's a little bit of a guide for each of these civilizations to give you some help in how to use your civilization. If there's ever a term that you don't understand because we didn't cover it here, like activating a card or reinforcing or archive, all of that can be found on the next to last page of the rule book. So, I would like to go over my primary concern with the game, and it is this. Uh, because the game focuses pretty heavily on controlling provinces at the end of the game, if you have a sufficiently high military and you are the last player, like I would be the last player in this game, if you were first player, I'm obviously going to be last player.
Right.
I can basically make sure that I have nothing but military cards here that I'm going to activate, getting a whole bunch of military at the very end of the game, spreading out as much as possible, and making it really difficult for you to win. So I think that's after playing, I felt like this game. Initially, I was like, oh, the first player's got a huge advantage because the first player can take all of the prime spots. However, I believe it is the last player that has a huge advantage in this game. I think what was the score? It was fairly lopsided.
In our play,
Yes.
our score was
Drum roll, please.
42 Michael, 26 Steph.
So I didn't double your score, but it
It
was
felt like it.
in a low scoring game. That is a fairly significant difference.
Well, you got more wonder cards.
Yes.
More cultural cards.
Yes.
More provinces.
Yes, and you had more knowledge.
That was it.
But that's the only thing.
So you got all of the majorities, basically. All 3 out of 4 majorities.
I got 3 out of 4 majorities. And
that's a lot of points.
I wish I could say that, I was like a great strategic genius or anything, but I really just zerged across at the very end, and got all of the province bonus at the end of the game. Now, not saying that the game is broken or anything, just keep in mind it may not work really well with 2 players because of this last player advantage. It may work better with 3 players if the first 2 players keep that third player in check the entire game. I suspect it will be somewhat better. And I really like what the game wants to do with this 3x3 grid, where you're tapping a row and a column and activating each of those. I really like how that works out. I don't want to give it a completely negative impression, but it is fair to say keep that last player advantage in mind whenever you're playing, whether it be a 2-player game or a 4-player game.
Yes. I also like that there's tons of different like nations, civilizations, and you can get expansions with more of those.
More, yeah.
So I think that just gives you more reason to try new strategies.
Well, I think that each of the civilizations has their own strong suit. Like you said, the the Japanese were all about acquiring that knowledge.
But is it enough? I'm not sure.
Is it enough? But what I'm getting at is your cards, your starting cards are slightly different than my starting cards. Your cultural policies are altogether different from my cultural policies.
Yeah.
So I think that, I would not want to always play blue, and Steph would not always want to play red in that case, because these colors are tied to the culture. So
for sure.
I think that once, if it is a game that you enjoy, there's a lot of replayability, especially if you get those expansions. There were some lava tiles that we didn't use in our game. So there are probably a lot of different things that can be done that we didn't even touch on. Lots of different maps that you can set up. And like I'd mentioned before, you can just make your own. Just set up whatever land type that you want. Make sure that you're balanced around your capitals, and then seed the board. So I think that there is quite a bit of replayability here.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So that's cool. Good job with the rules.
Why, thank you. And that is Monumental by Funforge.
Yes.
And if you enjoyed this teach through and you want more just like it, you can get full teaches and playthroughs of many different games on youtube.com at BoardGamerSteph. Or you can come join us on Twitch in the chat on twitch.tv/BoardGamerSteph every Wednesday and Sunday night at 5 p.m. Central, where we stream through 3 games every single night. So, hey, come join us on Twitch where we play all the games.
And for those on Twitch, we'll be right back.